Welcome everyone to an exciting game as part of the Join Dota League. It's going to be Arrow versus Mineski. As both of these teams have picked incredibly powerful mid-game lineups. And it looks like we're going to follow Arrow as they take a big trip down as 5. Running what looks to be an Invoker in the mid lane, Elder Titan off lane, Doom in the jungle, with an Alchemist support and a Mirana likely taking up the safe lane. But we'll see how those lanes pan out as things get going. On the side of Mineski, they're running a Clockwork in the bottom lane, Lone Druid quite possibly in the mid lane, Leshrac going to be supporting up the Clinkz in the top lane along with the Sand King, giving them some incredibly powerful lanes, and especially up top. And I think this Clockwork might be in a little too deep, but a great idea to place a deep ward. Arrow does fly, and it is off the mark, but I think it did see the Clockwork there. I just don't think they can get there in time. So he did get in and out. Well played by the Clockwork, and that's an advantage being able to pick up the boots at level 1. He was able to just quickly get in and out after placing that ward. So he knows exactly what he's going up against. And I think by seeing the arrow down there, he knows it's likely an aggressive tri-lane, and that he's going to be in a world of trouble. And he also passes the ward back to Leshrac, making sure that he didn't need to. Nice job by the Spirit Bear, actually going to block up one of these camps if it can stay alive. And it should be able to, though it's going to be in pretty dire straits. And he's just going to run it around. Doombringer not fast enough to keep up with it. Doombringer speed is pretty pitiful at level 1. And the bear is just going to go for the block. And it's a really tricky move here by the Lone Druid. It really hurts him for this first level, not being able to have that bear to last hit. The question is, will he block? And it looks like he does get the block. So Doom is in a world of trouble. He's going to be able to pick up a Frost Mage, but that's not the creep you want at level 1. Alchemist going to rotate in and see if he can get anything onto the Clockwork, but Clockwork, with a bunch of wards already placed, is in great shape to just deny out everything. And the Doom didn't go for the Frost Mage, so he's basically screwed in this jungle. That's an excellent play by Mineski, and very next level with his mid lane Lone Druid. Lone Druid doing decently well against the Invoker, and does pretty well overall, especially considering he has great last hit damage on the actual Lone Druid himself. The bear not so much at level 1, but as soon as he picks up an extra level or 2, the bear should have some really insane damage and should be able to outlast hit the Invoker, considering he's going the Quaxwax build. Up top, Clinkz is going to get pretty much free farm and whatever he wants in this top lane, as there's no real way to contest it. With both Leshrac and Sand King up here, it's just an incredibly hard lane to deal anything against. You should get some decent farm and experience, but picking up level 2 or 3 is about all you can really expect from this Elder Titan on the side of Arrow. Clockwork already level 2 and in pretty good shape, considering he can just cogs out some of the minions, and there's no real kill potential in this bottom lane, considering the wards Clockwork has already placed. He's got one right over here by the river, making sure that nothing kind of jumps in, and the Alchemist is pulling pretty heavily, so that Mirana's already taken a lot of damage. And surprised she's not tangling up, because Clockwork could always come in and really annoy her if he got the opportunity. Top lane, Elder Titan going in onto Clinkz, doing some good damage, but Clinkz just way too powerful at this stage, especially without the stout shield. Elder Titan just can't stand in that lane for very long. Lone Druid Barrett's taking a lot of damage, but I don't think the Invoker has any real chance to kill it. And there we go, just seeing it pull back and making sure that it stays pretty safe. Clinkz getting the best farm overall though, sitting at 13 and 3, and just way ahead of everyone else, as everyone else is pretty much contested for farm. And the Mirana is not able to pick up that much farm, considering she's harassed pretty heavily, and the Alchemist is forced to pull into the jungle. The Doombringer's also not off to a terrible start, all things considered, but still nowhere near where you want to be for a Doombringer at this point in time. He's not going to be in great shape. He is going to find a pretty good minion in the Satyr Tormentor. It's a great minion for jungling. The 4 health regeneration is just insane for stayability, and it's far better than the Mud Golems he'd pick up otherwise, as soon as his Devour is off cooldown. Lone Druid's likely going to have to send his bear back to base, but he should be just fine for at least a little bit. He has good last hit damage so far, and no kills surprisingly, considering we've seen really no aggression I would have figured either Mirana or the Alchemist would try and rotate around towards the mid lane and pick something up, but apparently we're just going to see a farm off for the first few minutes, and I kind of think Mineski's okay with that. They've got a Clinkz farming incredibly well. They have a lone Druid who's doing a solid job in the middle lane, keeping up with the Invoker, and really just kind of pushing the Invoker around. They've slowed the Doom jungle, and so far Mineski's off to a very good start, and I have to put them in the driver's seat overall, as I don't feel Arrow's lineup is going to do a whole lot unless they can start really piling in the pressure in the mid game. That's pretty much the entire point of their lineup on the side of Arrow, is to just find mid game kills, use their just absurd amount of crowd control, as pretty much everyone on their team has some significant duration crowd control, from the Echo Stomp to the Mirana Arrow and the Cold Snap. And even with Cold Snap, there's some great ways to proc it. As soon as the Doombringer pops off the Scorched Earth, it will proc Cold Snap over and over again, so that it goes off pretty much on cooldown and really does a great job of just keeping people locked down. So I can see what Arrow's doing. They just need to make something happen in the next probably 5 minutes and really get off to a good start, because it can't keep going like it is, with Clinkz almost at 30 last hit so far. And it is going to be a rotation in by the Clockwork. He's picked up level 3, so he's not doing too bad. He's ahead of the Elder Titan, who's gotten basically nothing in this top lane other than 4 CS. But whoop-de-doo on that. That's kind of expected based on the lanes. And a good smoke try here on the side of Mineski. They wanted to get something with the Sand King and Leshrac, because they both hit level 3, which is a really critical level for both champions. It gives them that extra bit on the Burrow Strike. As we can see, that extra 100 range is just absurd. And it's perfect setup for the Split Earth. But they aren't going to be able to use it as Elder Titan just backed away, and it was a great decision overall. And it's all thanks to a ward he placed right up here, similar ward to where the Clockwork placed in the bottom lane. It's a great way to spot out people as they rotate in, and you can basically kind of tell where the enemy is. As if you don't see Leshrac or Sand King in the area every now and then, you know they're off ganking, and you can kind of tell your team. It's also not as obvious as the wards that are usually placed right around the rune spots. Even though it is a bit of a disadvantage, you can't see the runes. It's still enough. Lone Druid has finally picked up those phase boots, so he should have a lot more damage on this bear and should be able to really contest the Invoker in this middle lane. And it's basically been a farm off for both of these champions. Invoker getting the best of it so far, as soon as he put a few points up into the Exort, he's been in great shape and not going for the Cross Wex build. He's going for an Exort base build. Doombringer has not had the best creep for ganking at this point, just due to the fact he doesn't have the mobility to really run in there and stun the lone Druid. He has the Centaur, and he's going to rotate around, and this is what you need to do if you're Doombringer, but I don't think he's there in time. Lone Druid's already level 7, and he's rotating around in the Spirit Bear form. Sand King's going to not spot at the Doom. Invisibility still has a few seconds left, and no, he will not be spotted out. But he lost a lot of time, and he will be rotating across the mid lane. He should pick up level 5 from the minions, or not, as I really thought he'd stay around, at least pick up level 5, pick up that next level Devour, because that's a huge gold bonus. But instead he goes for just going back into the jungle and not getting a whole lot for it. Neither one of these teams has been able to pick up significant amounts of kills yet. His first blood has still not been picked up 7 minutes into the game. And this is definitely Mineski's game so far. We'll take a quick look at the Clinkz, who's picked up the Midas already, going for very late game. And I fully endorse this Midas pickup, as he can easily farm up into the strongest carry in this game, along with the lone Druid. And as I don't feel there's enough to really counter him on the side of Arrow, and he should be off to a great mid-game if he picks up his Orchid fairly soon, as he's getting free farm with the Midas, and I don't expect this landing phase to break out anytime soon. As Arrow, while they need to make something happen, I don't think it's going to be super important that they make anything really force things to happen. They can just kind of wait around and try and find some good opportunities, as they need to make everyone count, and if they give away too much, Mineski's going to steamroll with their far superior late game. Mirana has picked up an early Ring of Health, which is kind of a surprising pickup for her, as I didn't expect her to pick that up. I expected her to go into a bunch of mid-game oriented items, pick up drums and stuff like that, just in order to rotate around and try and find the kills. as their team really needs to apply the pressure in the next few minutes. Alchemist getting some decent farm in the jungle as he's picked up 14 minions so far. And I fully expect him to go for the Medallion of Courage. Just allows his team to push objectives and reduce armor, as they have a fair bit of physical damage. These double pulls are doing a good work for the Alchemist, as he's picked up level 5, almost level 6. Doombringer going to be picking up the Wild King creep, and I love this choice of Wild King over the Centaur at this stage in the game. As you can use it for harassing. The extra armor makes it so you're pretty much invulnerable in the jungle. And you can rotate around and stack camps up and get a big pull if you really want to. And I think that's what he needs to do at this point, as he hasn't picked up a ton in terms of minions. But considering he's 5th on the net worth chart, he's doing pretty well overall. And I definitely like his chances, as he's actually almost on par with the Lone Druid. Even though I'm not sure exactly if the network charts have ever been fixed for the Lone Druid, as they can get a bit wonky, considering the bear sometimes counts, sometimes doesn't. Top lane's going to be a bit of a push, as the Elder Titan is able to stop it with the Astral Spirit just rotating in. He's only level 3, but just decided to pick up the Soul Ring, which is pretty much a required item on the Elder Titan. Soul Ring allows you to just regenerate health and mana, throw out your spirit whenever possible, and basically make the enemy's life a living hell, and stops pushes like Mineski wants to do in this top lane. Already one Oblivion staff up for Clinkz as he farms away and is far ahead of everyone else. Leshrac is going with a lightning build, which is a good idea this game, because I don't expect to see a whole lot of tower pushing in the near future for Mineski. And the lightning build allows for a bit more burst damage and ensures the fact that you can get reliable damage, as the Diablo Edict just does not have reliable damage, as it's split around with everybody in the area. Invoker has gone with the Midas as well, which is not unexpected, as he really wants to be able to pull ahead in levels. Mirana pops the ultimate, and it looks like they're going to rotate up top. Doombringer leading the way, and there's the Doom right on top of the Clinkz, and an easy kill, and perfectly played first blood. No chance for him to escape there, and that's exactly what Arrow needed. Stop the Clinkz from free farming, and even though he's still top of the net worth, that's not going to be there for long, so they could easily transition this into a tower push with the level 6 on the Alchemist. Same thing with the Doombringer. He's got the extra Swiftness Aura, which is great for tower pushing. Elder Titan has picked up another level in the natural order, and this is exactly what you want to see if you're Arrow. They were losing just a little bit thanks to the fact they're picking up. Or actually, Arrow was ahead considering they had the jungle Doombringer, and they had Alchemist basically free farming in the jungle. And that kill just really ensures that they have a decent gold lead. In terms of experience, same thing. It was the jungle Doombringer really bringing it back and giving them a slight lead in that category, but nothing significant at this point. The big problem is Clinkz really needed that kind of free farm and not to be picked off in that situation, as he really is going to be the big mid-game force for Mineski. Lone Druid's not getting enough to really be that force. He's going to have a very late Radiance if he gets one at all, as I feel he's just not farming well enough against this Invoker. He has decent last hits, but Invoker's just pulled ahead in the last few minutes thanks to the fact he's got 2 Forge Spirits, which hit like trucks. And the bear just does not have the armor to deal with it at this point. He's got 6 armor, but that's a few shots from the Spirit, and it's all but gone. Lone Druid's also getting kind of pushed around by the Invoker, as the Invoker has just done a great job of bullying him. The Spirit Bear does some good damage at this point, but it's just not enough. And they haven't been able to punish the Invoker and get the Lone Druid any sort of farm. Surprised he didn't go Midas like his counterpart Clinkz, just in order to get the extra levels and farm that most Lone Druids love to pick up. He still has the opportunity to do so, as I feel it's not too late yet. But if he doesn't pick it up within the next minute or two, I feel it's just kind of a wasted item. Clinkz is rotated down bottom to try and find a kill, and they should have a pretty easy time picking up Mirana if Clockwork can get his hook off. He is fresh level 6. He does throw out the flare. And will they go on it? It doesn't look like they're going to. unless Clockwork can get a really good angle and just miss with a hook shot. But there's Clinkz doing some good damage, but without the hook shot landing, Mirana has no chance. And this is going to be the Alchemist rotating in. He has a stun available. Pops the ultimate, pops the concoction, and will he get it off on a good target? Looks like he's going to stun. No, he's not going to stun himself. Clockwork had just showed himself at the last second. I don't think Clockwork can get out of this beautiful chain stunning. And the Clockwork going to fall to the Mirana, who should take a pretty good amount of gold from that. And the extra experience is incredibly nice at this point. She is insanely farmed. And that was just a beautiful play by Arrow, rotating around and kind of expecting something, considering they didn't see a Clinkz on the top lane. You have to feel he's off ganking. And it's going to be Clinkz rotating around, still just not in a very good spot overall. He has a bunch of farm, but he's just not able to use it. He's going to rotate around, try and pick up the Elder Titan from behind. And I'm not sure the creep wave is going to push fast enough for him to do this. Elder Titan's playing very aggressively, considering he hasn't seen Clinkz. He would see him if he rotated in, as he has a very nice ward placed pretty far in the enemy jungle. And Elder Titan, they're not going to engage. And this is really hurting Clinkz, as he's dropped off in farm pretty significantly, considering he hasn't found a kill, he hasn't picked up a minion in a pretty long time. And his Midas has been off cooldown for a significant portion of this time. Invoker still bullying around the lone Druid pretty heavily, as the lone Druid is working towards that Radiance. He's not going to have it up at a reasonable time, as he's just not able to farm in this middle lane too effectively. He's picked up 63 minions, which is good, but it's nowhere near what you need out of this mid lane lone Druid. And I'm surprised Mineski's not rotated their supports around. Their supports are generally pretty good at rotating. But with the Leshrac and Sand King, they haven't found anything at all in terms of rotations, and they haven't even applied any pressure to the Invoker. I think they've been farming the jungle the entire time. And while it's been good farm, as the Sand King's going to have his Blink Dagger in just a few moments, I'm not sure it's enough. Clinkz in a lot of trouble again as the same gank happens, but there is just no escape, as that's just too much damage. Easy double kill. And there's a Sunstrike right on the mark, picking off the Sand King, 3 for none. And Mirana using one of the most powerful skills in the game, in the Moonlight Shadow, to secure 3 kills and 5-0 in favor of Arrow. And this should be an easy tower, as the mid lane tower was denied by the lone Druid. It's still worth it, as there's just not very much room for the lone Druid to farm at this point. And Clinkz just doesn't have the ability to carry this at the moment, as he's too squishy, even with the Death Pack. Because I believe he had Death Pack on, but was just hit with a Doom, can't run around, and you're fairly useless as Clinkz if you can't pop the strafe and just burn someone. Doom has picked up the mech and a 4-staff on the Elder Titan. Those items are going to be huge, as that allows Elder Titan to initiate a bit better as soon as he picks up his next level, as I fully expect him to go into Echo Stomp after picking up the Earth Splitter, as you really want that 1 point in Echo Stomp just to set things up. It's a great arrow setup. You can do it from pretty far away, and it's hard to really predict when he's actually going to land the Echo Stomp, as the Spirit just kind of sits out there for a good bit of time. Sand King has picked up his Blink Dagger, but he's not going to live for too long. Perfectly done arrow by the Mirana, and that's a very dead Sand King. And this Mirana should be picking up her item real soon. There it is, Lincoln Sphere. Surprised she picked up a defensive item first, but I'm not going to complain about it. There's really not a lot of CC on the side of Mineski that isn't going to be blocked by that Lincoln Sphere. The only thing that's really going to worry her in terms of crowd control is the silence from Clinkz when he gets that off, and a root from the lone Druid, as I don't feel the Earth Splitter or the Split Earth is going to be able to do a whole lot, nor is the Burrow Strike from Sand King, unless he gets a really good blink initiation. But so far from the Mineski side of things, they've been all about the farm, and it is not paid off. Smoke going to come out from the Clockwork, as he's desperately in need of a kill. He's only level 6 at this point, same level as the supports on the side of Mineski, and well behind the supports on the side of Arrow. And it looks like we were going to see Mirana in a lot of trouble, but without detection it's going to be hard to kill her, and they do actually find the kill. She was not able to go invisible in time, And Clinkz picks up a much needed kill. He also picks up a good bit of extra golden experience from the Forged Spirits. And he does show off the Orchid, so that's his kind of free Orchid kill. As Mirana didn't have the ability to escape. Surprised she hadn't put that second point of Moonlight Shadows. The fade delay is pretty significant. And that's going to be something that's going to be very valuable in the next few engagements. As if she gets a good Moonlight Shadow off, it's going to be almost impossible for Mineski to fight the engagement, as they don't have great detection. And the Invoker's already picked up his level 3 Necronomicon. At a great time, 18 minutes in. It looks like Arrow, and I like this decision, is going to go purely for a push here. And basically not stop until they get racks. I don't think they really need to stop, as they're going to have this tier 2 tower down for free. No broken test on it. And they see the Clinkz with that minion, which is going to be really huge in this upcoming fight if it actually does happen. As that vision of Clinkz, knowing when he initiates, and basically keeping him down, means that they can go take an objective. And that objective likely is Roche. Clinkz has no mana. He's sitting at half health, and it will not land. Figured there was going to be a Sunstrike up there, and it was close. And it's just going to be another push by Arrow. They're already up 4 towers at this point, soon to be 5 if they decide to push the mid lane tower. And I don't see any reason why not, as they've grouped up as 5. And while Mineski should have an advantage in team fights, having Clockwork and the Leshrac and the Sand King with an early blink, they just don't have the levels on the supports. And Sand King had a lot of trouble, not going to get his epicenter off, as he just gets exploded. And that's the power of the Elder Titan at this point. Having 0 armor on a Sand King means you're pretty much food for anyone that walks up and auto-attacks you, especially a heavily farmed Mirana. Invoker going to rotate up top just to ensure this tower gets saved, and they're likely going to push this top lane. They're going to have a big creep wave built up if they continue to push, and there's no real reason to continue this push in the mid lane. Lone Druid getting very close to this next item, and a little off on the mark, as Clinkz was almost hit with that Sunstrike yet again. That Necronomicon warrior so early just murders the Clinkz, and he can't do anything about it. And back to the Lone Druid, he's getting close to the Radiance, but the Radiance is just too late at this point. He needed that at 14-15 minutes if you don't go for the Midas. If you went for the Midas, I think it would be an okay time, but just not picking up the Radiance at this point is really hurting him. And they can't really counter push on the side of Mineski at this point, outside of the lightning from Leshrac, which is not really reliable at this point, because he has to get fairly close to use it. And that's the one kind of reason Leshrac hasn't been picked up much lately, is all his skills are fairly short ranged. And if you don't have that extra bit of range, you could easily get picked off by a team like this. The concoction can easily fly right into your head. Invoker going to come forward, and the Arrow's just going to run right into the creep wave. Arrow doing an excellent job of slow pushing these towers. They have no reason to really engage unless they take an engagement on their terms. Astral Spirit spots everyone out and does a good bit of harassment. And Elder Titan really needing an extra 7 experience at this point, so he can get either max out the Astral Spirit or pick that point into Echo Stomp. I expect him to go Echo Stomp just to be able to initiate these fights and set up an arrow. Moonlight Shadow is popped. They do see someone on the back. Clinkz has been doomed already, but a beautiful turnaround as Sand King gets his ultimate off. But not enough damage. He's just under-leveled. Leshrac goes down, Clockwork down, Sand King down, and Mineski just not able to get anything going. They've had a pretty good start as the Lone Druid Bear falls. He does have a resummon as soon as he gets back to base, but that Necronomicon minion just ripped his mana apart, and he can't even join the engagement. This is going to be another tower taken on the side of Arrow. And as good as Mineski is and his play, they just can't get anything done. Clinkz is going to try to backdoor a tier 1 tower, but I don't think he's going to get that as the Sunstrike does land and he's forced to run away. Beautifully played by the Invoker. And this is just really turning around on Mineski. They had such a good start, getting the free farm on the Clinkz, getting great farm on the Lone Druid. But the Clockwork got nothing and the supports got even less than that. And this is just really turning around. And this just shows the power of a mid-game oriented lineup when you don't relieve any pressure with your supports. Leshrac and Sand King spent too much time farming, and it really hurts them, as they haven't been able to do a whole lot, and Sand King really needs that level 2 ultimate at this point. The extra damage is just insane for how little it costs, and it's going to be Clinkz going down first. And a beautiful cogs placed by the Clockwork, but I'm not sure it's enough at this point. The stomp is there, and that means Sand King going to go down as well. And this Clinkz just not tanky enough to do anything, as he's their only real damage source, as the Epicenter was used, but it doesn't feel like it did anything. As Doombringer just way too tanky, he's got the mech already picked up. And with all the big items already on the side of Arrow, Mineski just can't get anything done. It's just really surprising how well Arrow has played this game. I figured they'd be in a bit more trouble as they gave free farm to a Clinkz and good farm to a lone Druid. But when your supports get absolutely zero, as they did this game, it's just not something you can deal with. Sunstrike was going for the Leshrac, but did not land. And this is Arrow's chance to just back up and play it safe. Alchemist has picked up a Blink Dagger, and I love that choice, as he's going to be the big initiator outside of Elder Titan, just landing a good Echo Stomp. And they can easily follow that up with a Mirana arrow. She's picked up the Desolator as well, so she's going to have some great tower pushing. So whenever they try and go for this next set of towers, they will burn them down incredibly quickly. And at this point, there's not going to be much armor on the side of Mineski. They have a little bit, as the lone Druid has some, and Clinkz is going to naturally have some extra armor. It's not going to be enough. He is going to take down one tower in the bottom lane, so a good use of backdoor powers, but he just hasn't been able to farm lately. And while he was up 30-40 minions on everyone, Alchemist is not going to get the stun off. Surprised he didn't just throw it. But it looks like Clinkz was able to escape and just kind of stall. That's what they have to do at this point inside Mineski. If they can stall and let the lone Druid pick up his next item, they'll be okay. He's got the Radiance online. But as we saw in that last engagement, it was not enough. They really need one more item. If he picks up an Assault Cuirass next, or even just the Hyperstone from that, they might have enough damage to take this into the later portions of the game. But so far, Arrow has been nothing but dominant, and so no signs of backing up. They group up as 4 in the middle lane, and it wouldn't surprise me if they just popped the Moonlight Shadow here and looked for an engagement in the base, as Moonlight Shadow has been their way in the entire time, and it's been one of the biggest factors in this game. As the Lone Druid Bear does fall, Lone Druid does not have a summon for 60 seconds. That's a real big mistake. No summon for 60 seconds. Clinkz does take a tower out top, but kind of a whoop-de-doo situation. You take a tier 1 tower, and your Lone Druid falls in the mid lane. Not a big deal, as he didn't have his bear for that time. He'll have his bear about the time he respawns. But we'll check buyback, and nope, no buyback. So this is going to be a free tier 3 tower and possibly Rex. Clockwork hooks in, does get a good hook, but the Force Staff proves way too strong, and ouch, does the Clockwork fall. Clinkz pops the BKB, but he had no health, and that should be good game in favor of Arrow, as they snowball this one to victory. Mineski just did not stand a chance, as they didn't get anything going in the mid game. Beautifully played overall as the GGs come out. Lovely play by Arrow. And that's exactly how you take a mid-game team comp and just dominate. Great job on the side of Arrow. Mineski just has to find better use of their supports, as I felt that that was the biggest problem with their game this time. Thank you for watching this Gamecast by Pander. If you wish to see more, please check out my YouTube and Twitch links below. Thank you again for watching.